Hey guys, I'm here to show you how to take a sketch and touch it up so that it's easier to read while you're working on it in Illustrator or Photoshop. So far I've done a sketch and this is for one of my icons. Okay, I'm doing it on a travel destination. In this case, we're assuming the UAW or the United Arab Emirates, and there's a particular place, a hotel, that is architecturally significant. And what I want to do is I want to use this sketch as the basis for both a line icon and a flat color icon. But as you can see right now, I could throw this into Illustrator and start tracing over it. But I just wanted to show you guys how to actually touch up these sketches that you do, whether you scan them or take a photo of them, and how to make them look more presentable. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and then I'll come over to my file and I can right click and say open with, and in this case we're going to try touching this up in Photoshop. Alright, so I'm here in Photoshop, okay, and if you haven't used this before, don't worry. What I want you to do is go over here to Window, go to Workspace, and look for Essentials or Essentials Classic. Okay, so what we're going to do is make sure that we're both working on the same workspace. So we should have our tools over here, our control bar on top, and then we should have more or less these panels. So the important one we want to pay attention to is this one, the layers panel. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to convert this layer from being just a background, okay, to a regular layer. So I'm going to click right here on this lock icon. And you can see when I do that, it changes it to layer 0. It just makes it easier sometimes to work with files when you have the base layer not as a background but as a just a regular layer. Next thing you might notice is that we have this frame around it. Okay, you might not have that, but what we're using right now is this, the crop tool. Okay, so it looks like this, two right triangles. And so what you want to do is either hit the C key or click on the crop tool. I want to just have this be a simple square. So I'm going to come up here where it says W and H in resolution. I'm going to click on that menu and I'm going to come down here, 1 to 1 square. Okay, and this gives me a good idea of how my icon is going to fit into that square or circular dimension. So now I'm going to come over to one of these corner ends, and I'm going to look for the double arrow, and I'm just going to kind of squeeze this in a little bit, and I'm not really worried that it's taking up some of the written text that I put down here. Alright, that's probably good. So when I like what I have, I can click this icon right here. It's a check mark, or you can press enter or return on a Mac. Okay, so now we've cropped the sketch. The next thing I'm going to do is come over here to where it says levels. So we have adjustments, and right here, levels. I can also find this by going to Window and Adjustments, if you can't see that. So I'm going to click on the levels. So what the levels are the amount of white, black, and gray in your image. So right now we're getting this histogram that shows us we have a lot of gray in here. We don't have a lot of white and we don't have a lot of black. So we want to try to add more contrast to make that easier to read. So I'm going to go ahead, click on this auto button. Okay, and you can see it pulls these little markers in. So the white marker gets pulled in and the black marker gets pulled in. And so basically we're trying to pull a little bit more of those values into the image. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come right over here to where these eyedroppers are. There's 3 of them. There's a black, a gray, and a white. I'm going to click on this first one. Okay, and what this is going to ask me to do is find a point on the image that you want to be pure white. Okay, so I might come over here and say, you know what, this part of the image here should be pure white. So I'm going to click it once. And you can see anywhere it had that kind of value, it converted it into white. Now it's a little bit easier to see that edge. Okay, it's better contrast. Let's go ahead and let's try it with this setting the black point. Okay, we might or might not have some success with this, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find a really dark spot on the sketch. So in this case right here, and then I'll click. Okay, and you can see it really darkened up, okay, anywhere it had that value. So this might have been a little too much of an adjustment, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this gray point here on the histogram, and I'm going to pull that over just a little bit more. Okay, and I think that's pretty good. I think this sketch is showing a lot more contrast, and we can really see the line work a lot better. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is just how to come in here and take this gray area that the white point couldn't get and pull it more into the higher or white tones. So I need to actually click on the layer, and then I'm going to come over here to this tool. It's called the dodge tool. Okay, you'll find it along with this, the burn or sponge. You can also hit the O key. And what this tool is going to do is it's going to take any value that you click on and it's going to bring it up. So it's going to make it lighter. In my control bar, I'm going to come over here to range and I'm going to choose highlights. The exposure, okay, or the strength of this brush, I'm going to keep pretty low, so around 10%. And then my brush tip, okay, I need to adjust. And to do that, I'm going to hit either the right or the left bracket keys. So when you do that, you can see you expand or you shrink the brush. So in this case, I'm shrinking it, so I'm hitting the left bracket key, and then I'm going to come over here around this edge and start clicking and dragging. Okay, be careful not to do this too much. Like all these Adobe programs, if you mess up, you can hit Command and Z. On Photoshop, if you need to go back again, you need to hold down Command, Option, and Z. So I'm just going around these edges, okay, getting a nice white area around it. And this is just in case you needed to present your sketches with a little more clarity. I wouldn't expect you to do this for every sketch that you need to use as a basis for creating your vector graphics. And right up here, there's a little icon for your history. Okay, it shows you everything you just did to change this image. So I'll go ahead. I'm just going to click on the first part. So this was the original, and here's what it looks like at the end. So a pretty good improvement. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. So Command and plus. I'll hit the space bar to get my hand tool, and I'll pan down, and then I'll continue to use that dodge tool. I want to show a little bit more of this area right in here. This is supposed to be kind of like the whitewash, the break of the waves on the shore. I want to kind of pull that out a little bit more. Alright, so I'm going to come up here, I'm going to go File, Save As. Okay, I'll just save this as icon and sketch. And then right down here, Format, I'm going to change to JPEG. I'll hit save, and for the quality I'm going to bring this all the way up. Okay, as long as it's under 3 megabytes, this is going to work well. And the format options, I want to do baseline optimized. I'll click OK, and then we're done. So that's how you take a rough sketch and you touch it up to bring out some contrast and clarity.